Hello everyone, this is Maitri Bhartwaj and today I have to start the topic from the differences by clearing the differences between the electric and the chemical synapses, right? So, at the electric synapses, the membrane of the pre and the postsynaptic neurons are in a very close proximity. We all know, yes. In the electric synapses, you will see that the pre and the post synaptic membrane they are very close to each other in such a manner that you will feel like that it is a single axon. Okay, it will look like a single axon, the transmission of impulses from the pre and the post from pre to the post synaptic neuron, right? And the transmission is quite faster in the electric synapses. So it is written over here that at the electric synapses, the membranes of the pre and the postsynaptic neurons are in a very close proximity. Electric currents can flow directly from one neuron to the other across the synapses. Transmission of an impulse across the electric synapse is very similar to the impulse conduction along a single axon, right? Impulse transmission across an electric synapse is always faster than that across the chemical synapses. Electric synapse is very rare, they are very rare in our system, in the human beings. What we human beings have is a chemical synapse. Neurotransmitters are present in the vesicles, and these vesicles they fuse with the presynaptic membrane, and then these neurotransmitters they are released in the synapses, and then from the synapses they move to the postsynaptic neuron, and in this manner the impulses being traveled through the neuron system. So at the chemical synapses, here the membrane of the pre and the postsynaptic neurons are separated by fluid filled space called a synaptic cleft. Do you know how the presynaptic neuron transmit the impulse across the synaptic cleft to the postsynaptic neurons? So what I have told you that there are some neurotransmitters. So it is written over here that the chemicals called as neurotransmitters they are involved in the transmission of the impulse at the synapses. The axon terminals they contain the vesicle filled with these neurotransmitters. When an impulse means the action potential arrives at the axon terminal, it stimulates the movement of synaptic vesicles जिसमें neurotransmitters present होते हैं. तो जब ये synaptic vesicles यहाँ पर ये दिख रहा है आपको ये आपके synaptic vesicles हैं. And inside these synaptic vesicles are your neurotransmitters. Okay, and these synaptic vesicles they get fused with them, and the neurotransmitters they come out from those synaptic vesicles. So in this manner, in the chemical synapses, the impulse is being transmitted. So when an impulse or action potential arrives at the axon terminal, it stimulates the movement of synaptic vesicles towards the membrane, where they get fused with the plasma membrane, where they get fused with the plasma membrane and release their neurotransmitter in the synaptic cleft. Synaptic cleft is actually the space between the two synapses. The released neurotransmitter bind to their specific receptors. Now, whatever be the neurotransmitter, they are going to bind with their specific receptors. Means if it is a excitatory, okay, or you can say if it is a stimulatory, then it will be having some other receptor. If it is not if it is not stimulating, if it is not accelerating, or it is a deaccelerating one, then it will be having some other receptors. So for each neurotransmitter there is a specific receptor. Okay, and where these receptors are present, obviously they are present where on the postsynaptic membrane. Okay, where these neurotransmitters they are moving from the pre-synaptic membrane to the postsynaptic membrane. Okay, so this binding open the ion channels, allowing the entry of the ions, which can generate a new potential in the postsynaptic neuron. So when the neurotransmitters they combine with these receptors, so this lead to a new action potential, and this new potential develop may be either excitatory or inhibitory. Okay, then coming to the next topic, that is the central neural system. The brain is the central information processing organ of our body and act as a command and control system. Yes, very true. It controls the voluntary movement. Voluntary movement, I have told you, those movements that are under our human control. Balance of the body, functioning of vital involuntary organs like lungs, heart, kidney. Okay. So balance of the balance is by cerebellum. Then functioning of vital involuntary organs by medulla oblongata. Thermoregulation, hunger, thirst by hypothalamus. Cardiac 24 hours rhythm of our body. Activity of several endocrine glands and human behavior. Everything is all processed by the central neural system. It is also the site for processing of vision, hearing, speech, memory, intelligence, emotions, and thoughts. The human brain is well protected by skull. Obviously, it is well protected by skull. And inside the skull, again, it has three meninges. The cranial meninges, obviously, means there is a skull. Inside the skull, there are meninges, the cranial meninges, whose outer layer is called as the dura mater. The middle layer is arachnoid, which is very thin, and the inner layer is called as the pia mater, and this pia mater is in a very close contact with the brain tissues. And the brain is well divided into three major parts: your forebrain, the midbrain in the middle, and the hindbrain at the back. Right? So here we have about the forebrain. So forebrain we have mainly three parts, the major three parts: cerebrum, thalamus, and hypothalamus. Okay, so cerebrum, thalamus, and hypothalamus. It will be better if we go through this diagram also. So the cerebrum, this we have somewhere, that is hypothalamus and this thalamus. So means this whole portion, cerebrum portion, and this portion. This is comprising your forebrain, right? So yes, okay. So cerebrum forms a major portion of the human brain. As shown in the diagram, it forms a major portion, occupying the major portion. A deep cleft divides the cerebrum longitudinally into the two halves, right? So there is a longitudinal division of the brain, and right and the left cerebral hemisphere. And this hemisphere, obviously, they are not they are connected with each other. How they are connected? They are connected with the help of the tract of nerve fibers called as the corpus callosum. So the layer of the cells which cover the cerebral hemisphere is called as cerebral cortex. So means that there is a layer that is covering the cerebral hemisphere which is called cerebral cortex, and the cerebral cortex is having prominent folds. Why it is having prominent folds? Because to increase the surface area for any function, for not for absorption, rather for knowledge accumulation like that. So it has prominent folds. See, mainly folds are meant for increasing the surface areas, right? The cerebral cortex is referred to as your gray matter due to the grayish appearance. The neuron cell bodies are concentrated here, giving the color. The cerebral cortex contains the motor areas, sensory areas, and a large region that are neither clearly sensory nor motor in function, and they are called as the association areas. And they are rather responsible for the complex functions like intersensory association, memory, and this communication. And the fibers of the tracts are covered with a myelin sheet, which constitute the inner part of the cerebral hemisphere, and this gives a opaque white appearance of the layer, and hence are called as the white matter. सो ओवरऑल अगर ब्यौरा देखा जाए, ओवरऑल देखा जाए, सो इट इज रिटन कि एक सेरेब्रम है जो कि एक मेजर पोर्शन फॉर्म कर रहा है. इस सेरेब्रम को लॉन्गिट्यूडनली हम डिवाइड करेंगे. अब ये जो डिवीजन है राइट और लेफ्ट सेरेब्रल हेमिस्फीयर फॉर्म कर रहे हैं, दोनों अलग नहीं है एक दूसरे से, बल्कि कुछ नर्व्स के ट्रैक्ट हैं, कुछ नर्व्स हैं, नर्व फाइबर्स हैं जो कि इनको वही जोड़ के रखे हैं, जिसका नाम है कॉर्पस कैलोसम. और ये जो सेरेब्रल हेमिस्फीयर है, इसके ऊपर एक लेयर प्रेजेंट है ना, पूरा लेयर प्रेजेंट है सेल का, जिसको कहते हैं सेरेब्रल कॉर्टेक्स। सेरेब्रल कॉर्टेक्स में बहुत सारे प्रोमिनेंट फोल्ड्स प्रेजेंट होते हैं। एंड जो सेरेब्रल कॉर्टेक्स होता है ये ग्रे कलर का होता है, ग्रेइश अपीयरेंस है। क्यों ग्रेइश अपीयरेंस है? क्योंकि यहाँ पर बहुत सारे न्यूरॉन सेल बॉडीज एक्यूमुलेट हो जाते हैं, इसलिए ग्रेइश अपीयरेंस है। और सेरेब्रल कॉर्टेक्स में मोटर एरियाज भी हैं, सेंसरी एरियाज भी हैं। कुछ ऐसे एरियाज है जो ना ही मोटर बन पाए हैं ना ही सेंसरी बन पाए हैं, उनको एसोसिएशन एरियाज कहते हैं। एसोसिएशन एरियाज का काम यही है कि वो इंटरसेंसरी एसोसिएशन करे, दोनों सेंसरी और मोटर के बीच में मेमोरी का ध्यान रखें और कम्युनिकेशन में हेल्प करते हैं। रही बात ये तो सेरेब्रल कॉर्टेक्स, कॉर्टेक्स वर्ड वैसे भी बाहर के लिए यूज होता है। टॉकिंग अबाउट इनसाइड, अंदर की बात करूँ तो अंदर में क्या होता है, वहां पर फाइबर्स होते हैं, फाइबर्स ऑफ ट्रैक्ट्स दैट आर कवर्ड इन माइलिन शीट। वहां पे अंदर में माइलिन शीट से कवर होते हैं फाइबर्स, जिसकी वजह से वहां पे एक ओपैक व्हाइट अपीयरेंस आता है और उसको व्हाइट मैटर कहते हैं। मींस बाहर का जो पोर्शन है उसको ग्रे मैटर कहेंगे, अंदर के पोर्शन को व्हाइट मैटर कहेंगे। यहाँ तक तो समझ आ गया। बात करते हैं थैलेमस की। थैलेमस नीचे में प्रेजेंट होता है, तो सेरेब्रम थैलेमस को कवर करता है, ठीक है। तो थैलेमस को सेरेब्रम कवर करता है एंड इट इज अ मेजर कोऑर्डिनेटिंग सेंटर फॉर सेंसरी एंड द मोटर सिग्नल। मींस अगर सेंसरी और मोटर सिग्नलिंग की बात करूं तो थैलेमस उसमें मेजर रोल प्ले करेगा, ठीक है, कोऑर्डिनेट करने में। Another very important part of the brain is called as the hypothalamus, which lies at the base of thalamus. अब जो नेक्स्ट है दैट इज योर हाइपोथैलेमस। अब वो थैलेमस, हाइपोथैलेमस, हाइपो का मतलब क्या होता है? नीचे। थैलेमस के नीचे जो स्ट्रक्चर प्रेजेंट है उसको हाइपोथैलेमस कहा गया है। हाइपोथैलेमस क्या करेगा? इट विल कंट्रोल द बॉडी टेम्परेचर, पर्च फॉर ईटिंग एंड ड्रिंकिंग, right? It also contains several group of neurosecretory cells which secrete hormones called as hypothalamic hormone, जो हम लोग लास्ट चैप्टर में पढ़ेंगे, स्टडी करेंगे, ठीक है। द इनर पार्ट ऑफ द cerebral hemisphere and a group of associated deep structures called as amygdala hippocampus forms a complex structure called as the limbic lobe or the limbic system, ठीक है। तो इनर पार्ट है जो सेरेब्रल हेमिस्फेयर का, ठीक, जिसमें आपका थैलेमस आया, हाइपोथैलेमस भी आया। उसके अलावा जो एसोसिएटेड डीप स्ट्रक्चर्स हैं, एमिग्डाला, हिप्पोकैम्पस, ये हिप्पोकैम्पस, ये सारे के सारे मिलकर क्या एक कॉम्प्लेक्स स्ट्रक्चर बनाते हैं जिसको कहते हैं लिम्बिक लोब या लिम्बिक सिस्टम। Along with the hypothalamus, it is involved in the regulation of the sexual behavior, expression of emotional reactions like excitement, pleasure, rage, and fear, and also motivation. So this was all about your forebrain, where it consists of cerebrum, thalamus, and hypothalamus. Talking about the midbrain. So the midbrain is located between thalamus and hypothalamus. Obviously, midbrain बोला है तो बीच में ही होगा, ठीक है। तो it is present between hypothalamus या thalamus of the forebrain and pons of the hindbrain. तो इन दोनों के बीच में, hindbrain और forebrain के बीच में। Now वहाँ पे एक canal पास होता है, canal is passing through the midbrain, that is called as cerebral aqueduct. The dorsal portion of the midbrain consists of mainly 4 round swellings called as corpora quadrigemina, ठीक है। तो जो dorsal portion है means the back portion, वहाँ पर फोर राउंड स्वेलिंग्स प्रेजेंट होते हैं जिसको कहते हैं कॉर्पोरा क्वाड्रिजेमिना। सो मेनली इसमें दो ही keywords है, first is your what is the cerebral aqueduct, second is the what is this corpora quadrigemina, right? Talking about the hindbrain, so hindbrain it comprises of pons variouli, cerebellum and medulla. medulla को medulla oblongata भी कहते हैं। So pons variouli consist of the fiber tracts that interconnect different regions of the brain. So इसमें बहुत सारे fiber tracts हैं जो कि different regions of brain को connect करके रखता है। cerebellum की बात करूँ so it has a convoluted surface that provide additional surface for many more neurons. So accumulation of neurons के लिए prominent folds present होते हैं जो कि cerebrum में भी present थे। Then medulla oblongata of the brain, is connected to the spinal cord and it contains the centers which control respiration, cardiovascular reflexes and gastric secretion. Now 3 major regions make up the brainstem. Now how the brainstem is formed? Brains में midbrain आता है, pons variouli आता है और medulla oblongata आता है, कोई पार्ट नहीं आता है, ठीक है। सो ब्रेन स्टेम इट फॉर्म्स अ कनेक्शन बिटवीन द ब्रेन एंड द स्पाइनल कॉर्ड। सो ब्रेन और स्पाइनल कॉर्ड के बीच में जो कनेक्शन है उसको ब्रेन स्टेम कहते हैं और ये कनेक्शन कौन स्थापित करते हैं? आपका मिड ब्रेन, आपका पॉन्स वेरेलाई और तीसरा आपका मेडुला ऑब्लोंगेटा, ठीक है। तो ये था आपका ब्रेन के बारे में। यहाँ पे बात करते हैं रिफ्लेक्स एक्शन। सो रिफ्लेक्स एक्शन में कुछ ज्यादा खास नहीं है, जैसे कि आपने गलती से कोई गर्म कप की चाय छू ली तो आप तुरंत अपना हाथ वहां से विड्रॉल करोगे, हटा लोगे वहां से हाथ, है ना? क्यों? क्योंकि एक रिफ्लेक्स एक्शन वहां पर स्टिमुलेट हुआ है, जिसने तुरंत आपके स्पाइनल कॉर्ड को ये इन्फॉर्मेशन दी कि भाई अपना हाथ हटा लो क्योंकि बहुत गर्म है चाय, ठीक है, बहुत गर्म है कप, राइट। तो वही यहाँ पे लिखा दैट यू मस्ट हैव एक्सपीरियंस अ सडन विड्रॉल ऑफ अ पार्ट ऑफ अ बॉडी which comes in contact with the objects that are extremely hot, cold, pointed, or the animals that are scary or poisonous, right? The entire process of response to the peripheral nervous stimulation that occurs involuntarily, that is, without a conscious effort or the thought, and requires the involvement of the part of the central nervous system is called as the reflex action. The reflex pathway comprises at least one efferent neuron, and appropriately arranged in series. The afferent neuron receives a signal from the sensory organ, transmits the impulse via dorsal nerve root into the CNS at the level of spinal cord, and the efferent neuron then carries the signals from the CNS to the effector. यहाँ पर नीजर का एग्जाम्पल दे के रखा गया है, जहाँ पर ये आपका मसल स्पेंडल है, दिस वन इज योर मसल स्पेंडल से एफरेंट पाथवे को फॉलो किया, देन डोर्सल रूट ऑफ गैंग्लियन के पास गया, यहाँ पर फिर उसके बाद यहाँ मोटर न्यूरॉन के पास आया, मोटर न्यूरॉन से एफरेंट पाथवे एंड देन मोटर एंड प्लेट पे आया और फिर यहाँ रिस्पॉन्स आया, ठीक है, ओके। So thank you so much for watching my video till the end. Thank you so much. Thank you.